Good morning, everyone. My name is Sterling Kiga, Chairperson of the Authority. I'd now like to call to order the April 2nd, 2025 Kaka'ako Authority meeting of the Hawaii Community Development Authority. The time is now 10 a.m.
Thank you, Chair. In accordance with section 92-3.7 Hawaii revised statutes, the Hawaii Community Development Authority is holding today's Kaka'ako board meeting virtually on Zoom. The Zoom link details were included on the meeting agenda. Therefore, members of the public are welcome to join us on Zoom and also at our physical meeting site at the American Brewery Building, 547 Queen Street, second floor boardroom, Honolulu, Hawaii, 96813. The HCDA communication staff is hosting this meeting. Once this meeting begins, everyone will be muted for clear audio. Board members, if you have any comments or questions, please unmute yourself to speak. It is important that all individuals clearly state their name, pseudonym, or other identifier name each time prior to speaking. If you wish to provide oral testimony and you are attending virtually, please indicate so by clicking the raise hand button found on your Zoom screen. If you're attending in person, you'll be called to the front of the room in the order you signed up. All testimony will be limited to a maximum of 3 minutes. Your testimony must be related to an item on the agenda. Before you begin your testimony, we ask that you identify yourself and spell your name for the record. When 1 minute is remaining, 1 minute remains will be called up. When 30 seconds is remaining, 30 seconds remain will be called out. When time is elapsed, time will be called out, after which you will have 30 seconds to conclude your testimony. Then your audio will be turned off. If you are attending in person, the presiding officer will call the next testifier. Keep in mind that this is an opportunity to share your thoughts with us. If you ask questions during your testimony, neither the board nor the staff is required to provide an answer. If the authority's connection for the remote meeting is lost, the meeting will be recessed until the connection is restored. If the connection cannot be restored within 30 minutes, the meeting will be terminated and the authority will continue the meeting at another notice date. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Director Nakamoto. HCDA board members, please remain visible and audible during the meeting. Also, please acknowledge you are present by either saying here or present. Let the record reflect that the following members are present. Vice Chair Ishii. Here. Thank you. Secretary Lidstone.
Here.
You. Member Miranda Johnson is excused. Member Anderson. Thank you. Member Evans.
Here.
Thank you. Member Strites. Here. Thank you. Member China.
He's joining.
Okay, see him there. Member Sakota.
Here.
And member China is present as well. Thank you. All right, for today's meeting, board members will be given the opportunity to ask questions or provide comments after an agenda item has been presented. Individuals from the public who have requested to provide public testimony on a specific agenda item are on standby and will be permitted to provide their testimony respectively. Moving now to agenda item number 2. This is the approval of minutes, and these are the regular meeting minutes of March 5th, 2025. Board members, are there any comments or corrections to these minutes? If there are no comments or questions, the minutes are approved as presented. Moving now to agenda item number 3, decision making. First item is consider authorizing the executive director to 1, execute a purchase and sale agreement with Block G Ward Village LLC, BWL, or a designee for the parcels located at 952 Kauaiahao Street and 955 Waimanu Street, Honolulu, Hawaii 96813, described by Oahu tax map key numbers 2-3-003065 and 093, collectively Block P2 at a purchase price of $6 million. Plus HCDA giving VWL industrial floor area credit in the amount of 8,757.72 square feet of industrial floor area and other customary and standard terms and conditions applicable to commercial real estate acquisitions. And 2, do any and all things necessary to complete the purchase transaction, provided that the executive director is satisfied with the due diligence for the parcels. Mr. Craig Nakamoto, executive director, will now present the staff report.
Thank you, Chair. The staff report is contained in tab 2 of your packet. What I'm asking is for the board's authorization to allow me to enter into a purchase and sale agreement for Block P2. During the last legislative session, we received to the state budget an appropriation of $5 million to plan, design, and construct a community facility to house, social programs and community activities within the Kaka'ako Community Development District. One of, the intent of it was, the appropriation was to find the location for such a community facility. As many of you know, the addition of community facilities in a district like this, especially the appropriate ones, can really add to the community. The intent was to try to do something in Mother Waldron Park for two reasons. One, to bring activation to Mother Waldron Park, but also to bring some kind of community facility to that part of Kaka'ako. Just because of the planning effort that would need to go in and the feasibility of it, designing and constructing a facility at Mother Waldron Park, and also because park space is also at a premium, and to give up park space seemed unfeasible at this time. The city and county manages that park for us, or maintains it for us, and if we were to, try to build a facility like this in Mother Waldron, we'd have to seek the concurrence of the city and county. And like I said, park space is at a premium. So the alternative idea came up around was that perhaps we could buy property and a facility that could house a community program. So the block P2 parcels became available for purchase. The block P2 parcels became available for purchase. It's owned by an affiliate of Howard Hughes. It's the two contiguous 10,000 square foot parcels that are bounded by Kauai House Street and Waimana Street. On it, there's about a 8,000 square foot or 6,000 square foot warehouse that has a gym in it. The appraisal for that parcel came back at about $7,500,000 through an independent appraiser. We negotiated with Victoria Ward for a negotiated price, and we agreed to a purchase price of $6 million from $7,500,000, and giving them or recognizing 8,757 square feet of industrial floor area credit, which is similar to what we did when we acquired Block P, which is the interior showplace lot. Under Victoria Ward's amended and restated development agreement, they're required to maintain a minimum amount of industrial floor area. The 8,757 square feet of industrial floor area is a small amount of that, so we think it's it's reasonable to give them credit for it, since they're not able to keep that industrial use on Block P, parcel P2. Our intent for the parcels is to lease the space in the building if we close on it to the Honolulu Kupuna Shed. The Kupuna Shed has its origins in the men's shed movement that came out because they found that men especially, needed socialization and activities as they aged. Now the Honolulu Kupuna Shed is open to men and women of all ages. Right now, they're in temporary space on Lana Lane. That area and their area surrounding it is slated for development soon. But Kupuna Shed has until the end of this year to, at least until the end of this year, could be earlier, to stay in that space. In the longer term for these two parcels, board members, I think the intent is to look at this as affordable housing development. And with that, maybe the ground floor space being Honolulu Kupuna Shed. That would really complement, the area and also align with, the housing development above it. But that's the ultimate intent. The Honolulu Kupuna Shed has, since moving to Kaka'ako, has increased its membership. I think they provide a valuable resource and service to the community, but also just a good place for people to gather, in the community, especially in an area where there is no space for people to, dwellers to kind of tinker and do their thing. So if we acquire this parcel, idea is to enter into a lease. We haven't agreed on the term of the lease yet, but term with nominal rent, but have Kupuna Shed maintain the building, make all the repairs, capital improvements, and so forth. So it would be like a triple net lease, but at nominal rent, and they would take care of the building and the improvements. And it sounds like they're willing to take on that obligation. We've received supporting testimony from Senator Moriarty, was instrumental in getting that legislative appropriation. And then board members, we also have members of the Honolulu Kupuna Shed who are here to say a few words. Great, open to your questions.
Thank you, Director Nakamoto.
Thank you.
Board members, any comments or questions? Member Evans.
Chair, I'm not familiar with the term ALTA survey. Perhaps somebody could decode that for me.
Yeah, it's a land survey that's gotten as part of closing. Alta.
Thank you, Chair.
Thank you. Members, any other comments or questions? And then just as a reminder, we can always do comments or questions after testimony and before decision making. Okay, seeing no questions, we'll move now to public testimony. So we'll start with Bill Chismar.
I'll defer to Robert Spear, who is the president of the organization, so he'll do the testimony.
Okay, great. I'm guessing Jim Mastery is also deferring. All right, thank you, Bill and Jim. Robert Spear, please, you can join us up here.
Good morning, Chair and Board of Directors at the HCDA. You know what? It's a privilege and a pleasure and an honor for us to be here. We're thrilled to be able to be in this community and part of this program and look forward to explaining who we are. So we're a 501c3. We were originated as a Honolulu Men's Shed, as previously mentioned, in 2018. We existed in Sand Island for about a year and then moved to Harbor's Pier 20. For 4 years, and then at the beginning of last year, we moved down to Kaka'ako towards on Lana Lane, which where we are now. Since we moved there, we've really expanded from the seams. We've doubled our participation rate, we've tripled our projects and so forth, and have more than a dozen projects we did for the community. So our objective is creating opportunities to enhance the well-being in a sense of purpose of my seniors in the post-retirement years. As mentioned, we have many people who are not seniors. I am one, but they are not, and they know, and we all work together to support senior-related projects. Some of our programs include bicycle repairs, advanced woodworking skills, multifaceted senior education programs, and working on projects to benefit the community. And that has just continued to grow incredibly well. We're in a short-term lease here, and we have to move someplace, and our opportunity perhaps to go to a permanent place, so we don't have to move too many times more. But whatever it takes, is we're happy to be able to do that. We have been supported by grants, internal activities and funding, as well as the generosity of several different landowners to be able to exist where we are. We're a nonprofit, and by design, we don't make much profit, but we make enough to be able to pay on an expanded basis what we project to be our costs for a potential place as being proposed here. We think we can support the HCDA's programs of economic and social development, especially enhancing community well-being, the intergenerational learning, and sustainable programs by our programs. And we think we could support the HCDA's objectives. Subject to your questions, and as mentioned, Bill Chismar is our treasurer. They work with me, and Jim is our vice president. I've been the president for 3 years now. Subject to your questions. Like 2 minutes is up.
Thank you, Robert. Members, any comments or questions? I see member Sakota.
Yes, good morning. You know, I visited the shed on Friday afternoon. And one of the things that struck me was the bicycle program. Could you tell the board a little bit more about that program?
Yeah, bicycle program is one of our foundational parts of the program. We take abandoned bicycles and donated bicycles, repair them and return them to the community, mostly by sales to support our program, one of our support programs for funding income, but also donate some to the homeless community in different aspects. So we are in a position where we have processed about 200 bicycles in the last year and are planning to double that in the next years, pending more space and more support from different organizations. Does that answer your question?
Absolutely.
Good, thank you.
Thank you, member Sakota. Members, any other comments or questions? I live a couple blocks away. Oh, sorry. Secretary Lidstone, please.
Hello. I think this question is probably for Craig. I just had a question on how I think this is a wonderful organization and it benefits the community so much. But I'm just curious how HCDA goes about choosing organizations to lease out HCDA properties, if there's a policy or procedure, or how HCDA goes about making those determinations.
Yeah, I think it's a good question, member Lidstone. I think you know, we don't often have these kind of properties, you know, a lot of them to lease out like this. I think it started as kind of a request by Honolulu mentioned at the time, asking for, you know, space within the district. And I at that time didn't have space within the district for them. Since that time and since this appropriation was given, we were able to find this space. So Honolulu Kapuna Shed kind of, you know, came to mind, and that's how I think the Kapuna Shed was, was at least was selected to occupy the space. I think in the future, as we get into, you know, if we have more space to lease out, perhaps it can be we should have a process to determine what the community needs are and then make a selection that way through some kind of process.
Yeah, thank you. I think that's important to be fair and equitable to organizations within the community that also might be interested, just to have a certain procedure on how we make the determination. But mahalo.
Thank you, Secretary.
Thank you, Secretary. Member Strikes.
Yeah, I guess I'm also kind of confused what the board is being asked for, because what I can see in the staff report recommendation is for the authorizing the purchase of the property, but I'm not sure why none shed is here.
Yeah, so I wanted to, you're right, the action that's requested by the board is to authorize me to enter into a purchase and sale agreement and possibly to close on the transaction. Just for context, I wanted to give the board the ability, the chance to hear what our, you know, planned uses are for the property. But thank you for asking.
Vice Chair.
So, thank you, member Lidstone. I agree. I think we should come up with some parameters in the future because a lot of these are being organizations. I know Kupuna is also one, but I think there's many out there. Kupu has worked out really well from an HCDA perspective, so I think we should look at the community and its needs if we do have those type of parcels in the future.
It's a fair comment, Vice Chair.
Thank you, members. Any other comments or questions? Robert, I live in the district. I'd love to come visit, so maybe we can exchange contact information after this.
Anytime at your convenience, yes, sir. And I would add to the comment about being in the Kaka'ako area, the urban core is, with all the development and everything, with activities like this, to provide opportunities for seniors to do things and make things, adds a new dimension in this community. So in support of the efforts and so forth, we think that we're very, very good contributor towards that urban core development area.
Perfect. Thank you. Members, any other comments or questions for Robert? Otherwise, we can release him.
Yep, we got one more.
Thank you, Robert. And then we have one more person registered to testify. This is Keith Winnicott
Online.
online. And then, thank you, Robert.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Mr. Winnicott?
Hi, everyone. Can you hear me?
Yes, you can.
Great. Appreciate you guys allowing me to speak. I'm the current tenant of the property in question, and just had some kind of questions for the group about the impact to myself and my wife as small business owners and the impact to our community. So we've developed over the past few years a really thriving and unique fitness and wellness community with over 600 members, serving the residents of the Kaka'ako area. Most are within walking distance of our location. Was just curious to know, I've got a couple questions, one of which is, I guess, what is your plans for us as tenants? The second would be, as I saw in the proposal, the short-term plan is that the Kupuna Men's Shed would intend to occupy the existing warehouse in the short term. I guess clarification on short term, so that kind of relates to my first question. I guess I'll pause there on those kind of two questions, just trying to get a general impact on how it will impact us as the owners, as well as, you know, our community that, you know, has grown and continued to grow and really relies on our services and wellness facility.
Thank you. Staff, do you want to respond?
Okay. Mr. Winnicott, I had the opportunity to visit your gym a couple of years ago. I'm not sure, I don't know if I met you or I met somebody else, but I found your gym to be, I think you guys do provide a great service to the community. I think, you know, in the short term, I think what is intended is, in the longer term, I think our plans for this, to address the need in this statewide for more housing, is to likely develop that parcel for some sort of affordable housing in the mid to longer term. As to your question about the short term, I don't know right now what that short term window will be, but I think eventually we're looking at developing some affordable housing on that property just to address the state's need for more affordable housing. As to answer your question directly, Mr. Winnicott, whether in the long term or in the short term, there's gonna be have to be a F45 gym, will be displaced. It's not gonna happen right away, next month or so. The transaction has to go through due diligence, to go through reviews, and then a closing, and then a notice period for you. But so that's, wanted to just make sure I answered you directly about that.
So just to clarify, once the transaction closes, you would intend to give us a notice to vacate?
Yes. That is Correct, Mr. Winter.
Board members, any comments or questions for?
Actually, I have a question for Mr. Winnicott. Mr. Winnicott, what kind of lease do you have with Ward Village Limited?
The current lease runs until the end of October of 2026. So we have about a year and a half left on our existing lease.
Thank you.
But if I can add to that, Member Evans, so we have not, you started the due diligence, so we have to take a look at the lease and other due diligence related to the transaction. But I think, typically, the Victoria Ward leases have maybe 60 to maybe a 6 months termination because of development. So we have to look at that. So although it's October 2026, it could be a shorter time frame for notice of termination because of development contemplated by Victoria Ward and now by us.
Member Strikes.
Am I mistaken that I thought I recalled HCA having a lot of vacant spaces trying to fill in other properties? That, I mean, just kind of thinking about.
This is a
how-
question for staff on whether we have vacant space in other properties.
Yeah, just thinking through like minimizing disruption.
You mean specifically in Kaka'ako to house, say, a gym or mentioned?
Yeah,
So we recently, in the past, maybe year or 2 years, we've been acquiring a lot of properties. So you're correct that we do have these properties, Block P, where we do have, tenants that we inherited, from Victoria Ward. The new Block P3, where same thing, we inherited some. So we do have, I think, new properties, but because they have long-term, development plans with the building of more affordable housing, we're not necessarily looking to do, I guess, long-term leases in there. We're just kind of keeping the tenants and working through our due diligence and planning. So we don't have a lot of, I guess, vacant long-term leasing potential properties, if that makes sense. We do have a lot of, I think, buildings right now, but they have, I guess, future plans.
okay, well, so I guess what I was getting at is, would it make sense if it's, I guess, accommodating for the Kapuna shed to locate in one of those instead of this building to minimize disruption since
I
the current
think,
business is already there?
like Craig mentioned, we're
Or
still at the very early stages. The request today is more just to start, that possible acquisition. So if that request is approved, we would get into that. We would see what the feasibility of that parcel is. We, of course, would look at the lease with the F45 gym. We would discuss with them, negotiate with them. So I think a lot of those discussions, they haven't happened yet. We haven't, really dug into that yet. But I would say there's room, I think, for discussion with all parties. This is just a very early step.
So we might expect to hear more
So.
before the board about that.
So any lease, any long-term lease, I will have to bring that for board action. So if we decided to lease to Kupuna Shed or any entity really, I would need to come back to you for that approval. So this approval today is not for that. I would actually come to you probably in 2 steps, as I've done before, with a informational, kind of item to tell you about the lease, what we're thinking about, followed by a later approval of the actual lease. You mentioned Kupu, that's kind of what we're going through with Kupu for a different parcel. So very similar trajectory if we do engage with Kupuna Shed for this parcel.
Chair, if I can add, please, or clarify to, Member Straight's comment. And to Lindsay's, I mean, you can work with them, but, what actually happens with, the gym. We'll have to see. I mean, I don't want to make any promises at this time, because there's a lot of variables, and as I mentioned, I don't think there's any suitable space for, for given our plans for some of these, for housing and other things in the long term. For relocation, and I just want to be clear that, can't make any promises at this moment.
Right, sure, if I could just respond. Yeah, that's fine. I think my question was, to try and sort that out separately from the action today. So it sounds like we will have another day to discuss that.
Well, I think as Lindsay mentioned, I mean, if we're gonna come back for a long-term lease for this, we have to come back for a long-term lease. This action is to authorize me to enter into the purchase and sale agreement. The information about Kupuna Shed was more for background for the board, just to give you context of where it's going, because all of this was about a community facility.
And to be clear, we cannot do the due diligence on this until we engage in the purchase and sale agreement with BWL.
We can,
Right.
because we won't have access to documents, to leases, to reports, so we're gonna have to do all that.
Members, any other comments or questions? Otherwise, thank you,
And then I think.
Keith Winnicott, and we have a second testifier registered. This is Sarah Micheleo. Just Sarah. Oh, the third, sorry, Sarah. My apologies. And then there will be a person afterwards. So Sarah.
Hi, thank you for the opportunity to speak. I am Keith's wife and owner.
Sarah, sorry, if I can interrupt you, your signal is sort of breaking in and out. Are you able to move to a location that's clearer? Or maybe you're on a headset?
I'm not on a headset. Is that any better by chance?
That's much better. Thank you.
Okay, so sorry about that. So my name is Sarah Freeman and I'm Keith's wife and owner operator of the facility currently. So as Keith mentioned, we do have the 600 members of the Kaka'ako community that come to our facility every day, and they come for health, wellness, whether that's physical health, mental health, emotional health, well-being, and we've changed hundreds of lives and continue to. And our gym has been growing since the beginning and continues to grow. And we are there to help people and help the community. And there isn't another facility in the area like ours that would be able to service our community the way that we are servicing our community. So I just wanted to say that some of my other questions have been answered. And I guess just thinking about the other vacant buildings in the area, if there would be a possibility, I understand the need for the affordable housing that would take some time to develop, but if we could have our gym stay open as long as possible to help service the community as long as possible, that would be my ask. It sounds like the Kupuna shed wants to move in before the end of the year, which doesn't give us a whole lot of time and would displace, hundreds of people. And another gym just closed in Kahala that is a lot of them are going to be coming over to us. So I just basically just wanted to say that and ask for that consideration.
Thank you, Sarah.
Thank you, Sarah. Members, comments or questions for the testifier? Thank you, Sarah. And then it looks like Micheleo is no longer wishing to testify. Do we have anyone in person wishing to testify?
I'll say something.
Sure, well,
Sorry, what?
sorry, yeah, please come up here. You have to come up and identify yourself just for the record. Thank you.
My name is Jason Tyra. I live at 909 Kapiolani. And I'm a member of the F45 gym. So I'm biased. I would just want to kind of, I guess, continue on with what Keith and Sarah said. So I understand the need for community housing and, sorry, I get nervous when I talk in front of people. I understand the need for community housing and I'm all for it. I spent 20 years in the real estate industry on the mortgage side. And I have primarily been a project specialist the entire time. So new projects, new developments, things like this. And I've actually sat in this room many times in the past. So very excited. But if I may just speak really briefly on F45, it's not only changed my life, but I have seen it change the lives of a lot of people in various age groups. We have folks, I would say they're even in their 70s. They come to the gym that when I saw them first come, I've been a member for 3 years now. We're not able to do a lot of things in terms of mobility, and maybe we're a little disconnected from the community. And now that they've had a couple of years in the space here and as part of the community, it's really become, I would say, a big part of our lives. And I've met people and connected with people of different age groups that I would have never probably have the chance to. And spending time in class with them, it brings us together in a way that is rather unique. And so my hope would be that F45 is able to stay in the area somehow, because it has 6 members currently, as Sarah had said, again, with various age groups, a lot of older folks, but it's continuing to grow. And I feel it provides a tremendous service to our community. I've been in Kaka'ako myself for about 8 years now. So that's all I have to say. So thank you.
Thank you, Jason. Members, comments or questions for Jason?
Yeah. Okay.
Thanks,
guys.
Yeah. Thank you, Jason.
Thank you.
Any other testimony? Micheleo is wishing to testify again, so let's allow Micheleo to testify.
Person has to unmute themselves.
Oh, Micheleo, if you could unmute yourself, you should be able to unmute yourself now.
Micheleo?
Could be Michelle O. Oh. Micheleo? Are they allowed?
You're in the room.
Yep, it's on that person to unmute themselves.
Anyone else wishing to testify in person or online? Otherwise, we'll move now to board discussion on the matter. So board members, you have questions, comments, and these can be questions directed to staff as well.
I just have a quick comment. I know we're gonna be talking about tenants and so forth. Reality is, we're really kind of making a decision making on going forward with the acquisition of the parcel. And I think we shouldn't forget the fact that it is very important from a housing perspective, especially from an affordable housing perspective. So I think I'm ready.
Chair, if I were to move to accept the staff recommendation, that would still allow for discussion of the motion?
Yes. Yeah, that's right. Yep. So if we, actually, you're right. Before we go to discussion, we need a motion on the floor. Thank you, Member Evans. Appreciate your procedure. Do I hear a motion? And this motion would be for the board to authorize the executive director to 1, execute a purchase and sale agreement with Block G Ward Village LLC VWL or a designee for the parcels located at 952 Kauai Street and 955 Waimani Street, Honolulu, Hawaii 96813, described by Oahu tax map key numbers 2-3-003065 and 093, collectively Block P, at a purchase price of $6 million plus HCDA giving VWL industrial floor area credit in the amount of 8,757 and 72/100ths of square feet of industrial floor area and other customary and standard terms and conditions applicable to commercial real estate acquisitions, and do any and all things necessary to complete the purchase transaction, provided that the executive director is satisfied with the due diligence for the parcels. Do I hear
So
a
moved.
motion? Thank you, Member Evans. And seconded by Vice Chair Ishii. Members, we can now move to further discussion on the motion. Thank you, Member Evans.
Chair, I'll speak
Please.
to the motion. I believe acquiring property for the long-term development of affordable housing is something that is critical for residents of Oahu and residents of Honolulu. And this looks to me like a very favorable deal. And I would note that it appears that the seller is interested in selling the property, and if HCDA doesn't acquire it, somebody else will, and it would possibly be lost to something like affordable housing.
Thank you, Member Evans. I agree. Members, any other comments or questions? A question for Robert Spear, which is how many square feet do you need? And could you briefly describe the square footage and the ideal type of facility for the Kupuna shed?
We need 7,000 to 8,000 square feet. That has the opportunity to have different sections in there. Our wood shop takes about 5,000 square feet by itself. There are other things, an education program, bicycle shop and so forth would take 8,000 square feet would be something we would seek to be able to optimize what we currently do and are planning to do, especially expanding our education program.
So 7,000 to 8,000 total, 5,000 of that for wood shop working space.
Correct. Yes.
That's all.
Thank you.
Thank you. Members, any other comments or questions? I just want to offer brief comment that I think we should proceed with the acquisition. I think the leasing issues are something that I hope that the staff will, treat sensitively for all parties concerned. I do hope that we can think creatively about potential space options within the district. And if I can bat signal out to our friends at the Office of Hawaiian Affairs, I suspect that they may have some spaces that could be appropriate for this purpose. And so I'm just throwing that out there. There are a few landowners in the district that may have appropriate spaces, and I hope that they would make them readily available if they can satisfy some of these needs for these tenants that, both would like a space. So with that said, board members, any other comments or questions? Sorry, I just had to say Office of Hawaiian Affairs, because if they're like scraping all the meetings, then they'll see the word and they'll know, oh, we got to pay attention to this. Motion has been made by Member Evans and seconded by Vice Chair Ishii. Seeing no further discussion on the motion, I will ask Craig to take a roll call vote with 5 needed to approve.
Made by Member Evans and seconded by Vice Chair Ishii. Member Evans.
Aye.
Vice Chair Ishii.
Yes.
Chair Ego.
Yes.
Secretary Lidstone.
Aye.
Member Anderson.
Yes.
Member Straits.
Yes.
Member Chino.
Yes.
Member Sakota.
Yes.
Chair, the motion passes.
Great, thank you. Now we'll move to the next agenda item. Consider authorizing the executive director to amend that certain lease dated June 1st, 2010 with the State of Hawaii Department of Public Safety for that certain portion of land located at 240 Kiawe Street, Honolulu, Hawaii, and further described by TMK 2-1-0150043 portions to extend the lease term by an additional 5 years until May 31st, 2030, and increase the rent. Ms. Lindsay Doi, Asset Manager, will now present the staff report.
Thank you, Chair. This request is under tab 3 of your packet, and it relates to an existing lease with the Department of Public Safety, now reorganized into the Department of Law Enforcement. And it is the parcel off Kiawe Street, just off Alawana Boulevard, kind of tucked behind the historic pump station, where they have a 23,000 square foot paved lot that they operate their Sheriff's Division receiving desk. So it is a secured parcel. They have some portables on there. They've been there since June 2010, and that current lease, which we've extended a few times, now expires at the end of May of this year. Originally, they had intended to build another facility, a permanent facility. They had been in talks with DAGS, but over the course of the last year, that plan has shifted. They're no longer going to be doing that. And now instead they're entering procurement to design a new facility somewhere else. So they are requesting an extension so that they can keep utilizing that space until they find a new home or build a new home, which is expected to take some time. As you know, that process is not quick. So they're thinking at least 3 years to develop that alternate site. So they do have a request in for a 3-year initial term and then 2 potential 1-year options to extend. So a maximum of 5 years additional added to that lease. They are proposing a 6.25% rent increase along with that potential 5-year extension up to $85,000 annually. That is about market. So it's one of our few market type leases, that we're kind of getting our properties to generate more revenue. So I would like to note that this is a beneficial lease to us. And it also, of course, helps out a state agency, keep consistency with their operations. We do have someone from the Department of Law Enforcement with us, should there be any questions about that facility. But otherwise, I'm open to any questions you may have.
Thank you. Members, comments or questions for? Yeah, yep, please, Member Evans.
Lindsay, to your knowledge, does the Sheriff's Division of the Department of Law Enforcement have law enforcement jurisdiction over the Kaka'ako Development District? Is that shared with HPD?
That's a great question. If Thomas can weigh in on the specifics, my understanding is that they do have some jurisdiction, but because their department is so much smaller than HPD, I think HPD does primary response. And then in some cases, they do a co-response with sheriffs, say like at Kewalo Basin Harbor, for example. But if Thomas wouldn't mind clarifying, that would be helpful.
Hi, good morning, Chair and board members. I guess my name is Thomas Yamamoto. I'm the fiscal officer for the Department of Law Enforcement. Pretty much what Lindsay said is spot on in regards to how we handle and process arrests within the system. Usually start handling it once if, say, like for example, there's an investigation and someone is determined that they should be arrested, then they would stop by the Kiawe Street address to get processed that way. We also handle all the warrants, so we process people who get served with warrants over there as well.
Thank you, Thomas. Thank you, Lindsay. Chair, that answers my question.
Great, thank you, Member Evans. Members, any other comments or questions for staff? Seeing no questions, we'll open it up for public testimony. Do we have any persons pre-registered to testify? Do we have any people in person or online wishing to testify? Seeing none, we can close public testimony, and this time I will be looking for a motion. And the motion will be for the board to authorize the executive director to amend that certain lease dated June 1st, 2010 with the state of Hawaii Department of Public Safety for that certain portion of land located at 240 Kiabe Street, Honolulu, Hawaii, and further described by TMK 2-1-01500043 portions to extend the lease term by an additional 5 years until May 31st, 2030, and increase the rent and undertake all tasks necessary to effectuate the purposes of this for action. Do I hear such a motion?
So moved.
Thank you, Member Evans. Motion by Member Evans. Do I hear a second?
A second.
Seconded by Member China. Thank you, members. Any further discussion on the motion? Seeing none, I'll ask Craig to take the roll call vote with 5 needed to approve. Sure.
Thank you, Chair. On a motion made by Member Evans and seconded by Member Chino. Member Evans,
Aye.
Member Chino,
Yes.
Chair Higa,
Yes.
Vice Chair Ishii,
Yes.
Secretary Lidstone,
Aye.
Member Anderson,
Yes.
Member Strites,
Yes.
Member Sakota.
Yes.
Chair, your motion passes.
Great. Thank you, Director Nakamoto. We will now move to the next agenda item, the report of the Executive Director. This is the monthly report and other status reports, including the approved permit applications that do not require HRS 206E-5.6 public hearings. Executive Director Nakamoto will now present his monthly report.
Thank you, Chair. I'll just be brief and I'll just kind of summarize one part of it. So after the Kolowalu Dog Park opening, we did have a couple of setbacks. There was vandalism to the irrigation timer that resulted in not getting water for about 4 or 5 days. So we fixed that, replaced a lot to make it prevent it from getting the irrigation box from being open. And we're dealing with, just trying to achieve a balance on the watering, working with our landscaper. So Jason Takata with Lindsay's department and Lindsay and Alicia are working on just kind of achieving that balance, being overwatering, underwatering, that. And then we've had to address some, spots where it was yellowing. I think with the overall goal of trying to maintain the grass as much as possible, because I think the alternatives to grass are not really favorable, at least in our mind. We've also had to deal with some vandalism to the gates. So we're gonna have to correct those and then maybe look for another solution to the gates. The idea of the gates using natural wood, I think, was a good one. It was within the theme of the dog park. But I think we're gonna have to find maybe a more durable option for the gates. But overall, board members, I think the feedback on the dog park overall positive. There's a lot of users there various times of the day. So all in all, I think it's been good. Thank you, board members.
Thank you, Director Nakamoto. Members, comments or questions for the Executive Director? Member Evans.
Where's the Lilio Kalani Center located?
Oh, the Little Kalani Center is located at the old, Honolulu Club.
Thank you very much. So that was also, that's an Office of Hawaiian Affairs project?
No, it was a, Little Kalani Trust project.
Trust project.
So what I've heard from Ryan's, walkthrough of the place, it's just amazing place. With the technology, fabrication areas, areas for theater and drama and all that, just a wonderful place. Great, thank you for the question.
I have a question.
Please.
So the Kolowalu Park, because we put together the dog park, are we gonna have any signage up to say no dogs allowed in the children play area going forward? Because I still see dogs individuals with their dogs when you have all the kids out there fully?
Thank you for the question. So yes, we are engaged in a separate sign procurement for a whole bunch of different signs. One of which is for no dogs allowed on the play surfacing, so the turf, the artificial turf for the whole playground. Just for sanitation reasons, you know, we don't want dogs doing things over there, and then also to protect the turf surface. So we will be installing those signs kind of around the perimeter. And hopefully people respect, you know, the signs and keep their dog off.
Okay. Yeah, I just see the interaction between the young kids and the dogs, unfortunately, defecation.
Yeah.
It's not good, so, thank you.
Thank you. Members, any other comments or questions? Member Sakota.
Sorry, one thing just popped up. What's going on with the area or the warehouse that used to house the Reuse Hawaii?
Oh, yeah, so that's, I think, what is known as block L.
Yeah.
Block L. So what they will have plans for that property, so they've Next Step Shelter was sharing space in that warehouse, and then Reuse Hawaii was also sharing space. So I think the Office of Hawaiian Affairs terminated both of their arrangements. And the last I heard was they were looking at some kind of commercial development for the warehouse. That's the last I heard, Member Sakota. And I think
Okay,
Reuse
thank you.
Hawaii has relocated. Salt Lake, yeah.
Members, any other comments or questions for Executive Director Nakamoto? Seeing none, we'll move to public testimony, and it looks like Micheleo has resolved their tech issues. So Micheleo, if you're able to, you should be able to unmute your microphone now.
What about the infrastructure and sewer and roadway? This is a 45, etc. Will they be upgraded? Regarding the purchase on the previous item.
Oh, so that just so the record can reflect it, the testifier is asking about infrastructure and roadways near the F-45 parcel acquisition on Waimanu Street, and I will direct that question to Executive Director Nakamoto if he wishes to answer.
Yeah, thanks, Michelle, for the question. I think, you know, we're still, I think, a few years out from, you know, determining that. I think, when we, you know, find a developer to, you know, develop affordable housing, for that parcel, I think all those things have to be determined, whether the, offsite infrastructure is needed, more on-site infrastructure is needed. And, you know, whether or not there's any other roadway improvements. So it's just a little bit premature to answer those questions right now. We'll know that later.
Great, thank you, Director. Any other people pre-registered to testify? Anyone wishing to testify in person or online? Seeing none, we'll close testimony on this item, which was for information purposes only. I will thank all of the members for their attendance at both of these meetings. Thank the members of the public who showed up to testify, and thank the staff for helping to host the meeting. And with those thanks, we will conclude our business for today. The meeting is adjourned. The time is now 10:59 a.m.